what they do here. So on the tables throughout the room, there are calendars on what's going on every month here at Daytona Cinematique. So we want to invite people to come enjoy all the great movies and shows that they put on here. I also want to thank Volusia Echo. No, not Volusia Echo. That was last time. Volusia Economic Development. Without their support, we could not be here. And of course, the Kaufman Foundation, all throughout the communities, throughout the U.S. We have entrepreneurs sharing their story. Do we have any first-timers here?
Brian.
Well, welcome. Yes, welcome. Yes, we appreciate you being here. So this is an opportunity for someone to share their story, their challenges, their excitement about what they might be thinking about, or maybe they just started. And it's an opportunity for you to learn and also give them feedback. They're here to receive feedback, so don't be shy. After the presentation, we'll have a question and answer opportunity for you to ask any questions or give them some advice. So I am very excited to introduce Aaron Brasher. This is a true Million Cups opportunity because this is a startup and this is really what we're about. So let's go ahead and welcome Aaron with, what's it called now? East Coast Collective. Yeah. And it's right where I love, the beach clothing. I love it. So let's give him a nice welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. Well, I would like to first off start by asking everyone a question. Have you ever been in a situation or perhaps made to feel unwelcome somewhere or in a given situation? I'll tell you a little story about that very scenario. I love the ocean and I love to surf, although it doesn't look like I'm dressed that way. As a young man, I lived in New York, and I would go surfing in Long Island, different parts of New Jersey, up and down the eastern seaboard. And everyone that I had ever encountered while surfing became an instant friend. Well, some years later, I decided to see about moving out west. So I visited some friends out in California, out in Santa Cruz, California. And the surf there was awesome. The surroundings were beautiful. The people in general were very, very nice. But the surfers there were, just in a word, hostile. And they made it clear that they did not want me there on their break. But shortly after visiting Santa Cruz, I decided to pay a visit to some friends in Fort Pierce Inlet in Florida. And although I wasn't a local, although I wasn't from there, the locals there made it clear that I was welcome. While we're out at the break, hey man, where are you from? The break is going to be better tomorrow. You should come back tomorrow. It was a truly nice experience, and it was because of this welcome that I decided to check out Florida a little bit longer, and then eventually I made Florida my home. Now, I said to myself, after that visit, I thought, I finally found a place where I should be. This is my tribe. This is where I want to be, in this collective. And the surf culture here on the East Coast, I think should be celebrated. But when you think about it, can you think of a single lifestyle brand, for instance, that really represents the East Coast? Well, in fact, when most people from other places think of surfing, surf culture, usually places like California or Hawaii come to mind first. But do you think that Florida or the East Coast in general is something that comes up in people's minds, other people's minds, if you don't live here when it comes to surfing? Well, here's something that's very interesting. The state of Florida has 22 world championships. Did you know that? More than California, more than Hawaii, in fact, more than any other whole country in the world, just here in the state of Florida. Now, to quote a recent article from Stab Surf Magazine from April 2025, speaking of Florida surfers, it says, this state breeds champions like it breeds hurricanes. Violently, often, and without warning. But living here in Florida, we know that there's plenty of warning when a hurricane that comes. And we see all of the warning, all of the signs that this is a great place for surf and for surfers. Now don't misunderstand. I love California, I love the people there, I love Hawaii, I love the people. These stats are not to knock any other place or any other people or any other surf culture, but it perfectly illustrates how that the world in general is sleeping on a surf giant here on the East Coast. But you know what's even more notable than the spawning champions that come from the East Coast, that come from Florida, is the vibe that you find when you go out to surf. Now, even though some of the best have come from here, East surf culture isn't exclusive, but it's inclusive. It's welcoming. And there's room for everyone to come here and to surf here. And it always feels like home when you're out in the water. Now, I have another question for you. Given all that, what we've just talked about, do you think that East Coast surf culture deserves a little recognition? Me too. And that's why I started East Coast Collective. East Coast Collective is more than a brand. It's a celebration of the lifestyle, the laid-back lifestyle, the inclusive beach culture that we live and love here on the East Coast. It's for surfers, it's for beachgoers, it's for travelers. Anyone who feels that East Coast connection, this is for you. Our motto is simple: East Coast kind, East Coast collective. And there's no wrong wave, no wrong style, just community. So, over the past few months, and I think I've missed a slide or two. So there's a bunch of people having fun. That's really what it's all about. Not competition, but being with people, being together, having fun. So just to tell you a little bit about my journey so far, over the past few months I've taken some real steps. I've had the help of business mentors at SCORE that have helped me, the Kaufman Fast Track Program, the Ormond Beach Chamber of Commerce, and they've taught me how to not just dream of a business, but to also actually build one. Now, over the past 10 weeks in their program, I've learned to build a real business model, how to conduct market research. I've learned how to project revenue, how to create recurring revenue as well from my business. I've also been able to navigate different legal requirements that would be necessary for me to start this business, how to define my brand, and ultimately my exit strategy when I'm ready to retire. And most importantly, what this program and what the mentors have done for me is to help me to see that something like this is actually doable for someone like me. Now, I won't pretend that I have it all figured out. There are a lot of mistakes that I've made, and truthfully, I'm just getting started, literally just getting started. I've also underestimated how difficult, how hard it is to get something like this off of the ground. But one thing that I've learned, especially with these mentors, is that vulnerability is not weakness. It's actually the signature of authenticity. And really, this is the same spirit that East Coast Collective is built on. I know I need help. I need your help. And so I'm not afraid to ask for it. So some recent wins, though, with regard to getting something like this started. I finally finalized a logo and some early designs. We have some stickers on the table. Those literally just got made yesterday. This was coming up with a logo was, to say the least, and my wife will tell you, a chore. I had so many designs, and what's surprising is that I did market research with regard to which logo would hit best. Surprisingly, the one that I loved the best, people did not love. The one that I hated,
Yep.
and it was my least favorite, is the one that hit the most with people. So that showed me a little something, learning how to do that market research. I've defined a clear brand voice, and that's been helpful as well. I begin to build a community that's excited about what we're doing and what we stand for, and soon I start planning to build an e-commerce platform on which to start the business and make my first test sales. So now it's go time for me. The idea is real, the brand is forming, energy is building, and now I'm ready to take it to the next level. So this is where you come in. I have a little slide here, handshaking with all of you. To the business community that's here today, if you believe in what we're building, then we'd like to have your help. I don't want to just sell clothes. I want to build a movement. I want to build something real, something that's rooted in kindness and community and in the coast that we've all come to love and to appreciate, that we call home. Really, East Coast Collective is about showing the world what all of us have already known. The East Coast isn't second class or second best, but it's world class, and it's for everyone, and it's welcome. And so if you've ever felt the Atlantic on your feet or in your toes, felt a sunrise on your face, caught a wave here in Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, Cocoa, or any other place along the East Coast, or again just felt at peace just sitting on the sand watching the break or watching the sunrise, then you're already part of that collective. Again, my name is Eric Grasher. My business is East Coast Collective. Let's build together something great. Thank you very much for your time.
Gets us turned on. Fantastic job, man. That's what this is all about here at 1 Million Cups. Aaron, you know, one of the things is it takes a lot of strength regarding for example, your logo. It takes a lot of strength to say, I love this, but people are telling me this. You know, for you to go, that's what we should go with. Because it's tough. It's tough to give up on the emotional attachment there. But it's a smart businessman that does that. So what we do today, for those of you who are new, we've got a Q&A comment section here now. So Aaron gave us a lot of ideas of what he's doing, told us about his business. So this gives you the opportunity to ask questions, offer feedback, give him ideas, and help him out and help him grow the business of East Coast Collective. So I'm going to walk around. If you want to say anything, ask a question, raise your hand, and I'll come around and bring the microphone to you. Carlos.
Aaron, okay, wonderful presentation. I'm amazed that was your first presentation like this. That's phenomenal work. The first thing about building your culture and your branding, something I'd recommend you check out is Simon Sinek. He's got a short YouTube talk for 10 minutes on branding, and it starts with why, what, how. When you talk so passionately about your culture and what you want to build, start with your why. And that's clear to have everyone inclusive in the culture you're going in. And then what, excuse me, how do we do that? We do that by incorporating, pulling everyone in and keeping everyone inclusive. How do you do it? By sharing our clothing line and what we do. So do you want to try it? You want to check it out? So by leading with those just four little tiny things, when you start building your board and pulling people on board, you've got to share your vision. And anyone that doesn't fit that criteria, that doesn't believe in that inclusion, in that pulling everybody in as family, they're going to find their way out. They're just not your people. And remember, not everyone's your people. So stay true to you. You can't go wrong that way.
Thank you. That was one thing I forgot to do is make sure that I asked all of you for advice, resources, connections, that kind of thing. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about that, but again, I forgot to do that.
Question back here.
Diego Handel from PS Federal State. So I have a question and a comment. The question is, what did you do before you started this? I mean, what's your background? And then the comment is, I found it useful in things that I've been involved in to join association groups like this, Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot of events also. They have one tomorrow, Eggs and Issues, once a month or so, breakfast where you get to network with the whole business community around here, and also other people in your line of work locally. It's good to know other people that are also doing what you're doing. You can learn from them, build relationships. So would recommend that.
I'll take that advice. I am a nurse, so just to answer your question. That's my background.
Hey, Aaron, TJ from Daytona City Lifestyle. Great presentation, and I also enjoyed spending those weeks with you in the Kaufman Fast Track program. When we were talking about your logo in the Kaufman Fast Track program, we were just looking at them kind of in a vacuum. But as you were showing the pictures, one of the things that I noticed was that there are several other logos in the industry that are similar to yours. Rip Curl has a single wave, and I just pulled up the logo of Billabong, and they have 2 waves. So one of the things you might want to do is reach out to a lawyer and make sure that you get that trademark so that you're not going to be attacked by any of those companies in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you, TJ.
Who else? Right here in the back.
You're fast in the back. Jason Frederick, Deborah Jones. That's a great presentation, man. I really can see your passion in it. We were just back here chatting. You know, when you're calling yourself the collective, you want to involve the community in what you're doing. I think it'd be important that you pick a cause to get behind that your brand stands for that. So like maybe X amount of percentage of profits goes to funding surf camps for underprivileged kids or something like that. So somebody knows that when they're buying your product, they know that not only they're getting a great product, but supporting a great cause. Like Tom's, they send a pair of shoes, for a pair of shoes you buy, they sell it. So something along that will really help you along the way.
Actually, that's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I would like to do is to become 4 Ocean certified. So they do a lot of cleanup, and I guess you could say, especially with like plastics and things like that, it's a volunteer organization that's supported by many other, I guess you could say, ocean going or surf brands, communities, and things like that. So that's one of the things that I would like to do. Another thing that is kind of a big dream, but we'll see how it happens, along with cleanup, but also too, maybe in certain spots, improving, or I guess, improving like the sandbars and things like that. So along with cleaning up the environment, but actually making better surf for different places along the East Coast. So, but yes, most definitely, I'd like to do something to where we're giving back.
Hey, Aaron, Sean,
Hey,
how
Sean.
are you, buddy?
What's up, man?
We met here.
Yeah.
Yep, and you showed me your original logo. I didn't like it. I'm a surfer, a lifelong surfer, and had a brand, and we talked about that, and I'm so proud of you and the steps that you have taken to get on a direction that will lead to a successful company. I do love the logo. It makes sense now. And I want to share with you, there's an organization called Surfers for Autism, and they have events all throughout the East Coast that require volunteers to participate. They typically have 200 surfers, so they need that many or more volunteers. And you can go to their website. They have events all up and down the East Coast. And the closest one here will be Flagler Beach and then Jacksonville Beach, but they're in Juneau, so take advantage of that and participate in that. It's a great way to get your brand out there. They'll give you every opportunity to support them. Also, I love surfing is a culture, and I love the fact that you brought up that this state has produced more world champions, and we'll continue to do that because we have some great young surfers coming up that are going to probably make it to that level. Most recently with Caroline Marks, who's actually relocated here to New Smyrna Beach. Her family lives in they're actually in Ponce Inlet now. So hook up with them. They're a great family, and her brother Zach does a lot of videography and knows the sport, so he'd be a good connection for you to help grow your media content as well. And he's a super nice young guy. All right, so keep it up.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Keith Jones from Fractional Unit. Thanks for the presentation. So, a question before I have some comments. Could you give me 3 pieces of information? What problem are you solving? What is your solution to that problem, and what's the benefit of your solution?
Sure. So, like I was mentioning before, on the East Coast, as far as representation with regard to the surf culture that's here, there really isn't any. So if you think of, brands like, let's say Billabong, comes from Australia, but it's been bought out by a rather large corporation. Hurley, bought out by Nike, but it was started on the West Coast. Pretty much any brand that you can think of that people wear in general has either come from Hawaii or the West Coast, but there isn't anything really that's come out of the East Coast. Maybe one, but it's not expressly for people here on the East Coast. I know that in traveling, like just recently, for instance, we were in Puerto Rico, and I was surfing out there, and I was with one of the local guys. So he asked me, he says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Florida." And he goes, "Oh, you guys got blue waves out there." And people in general just kind of like, if you say you're from the East Coast, if you say you're from Hawaii, if you say you're from California, they're like, "Oh yeah, cool." If you say you're from Florida, they're kind of like, So the representation here, as far as the surf culture, it doesn't really have anything that expressly celebrates that. And so people here who actually do surf, I think that they would appreciate, having that representation, having something where they can be proud of and to be a part of. And also too, just the fact that again, the surf culture here is inviting, and that's also something that a lot of people, if you surf, you know that about being here versus being in other places sometimes. And so, as far as a need, that representation, having that brand and a culture and an identification, I think that's something that people would really appreciate.
So we could say that the problem that you're solving is that Florida itself doesn't have a surfing culture identity.
East Coast in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what I wanted to say, is that generally when you're talking about marketing something, there's an old adage that you market to everybody but sell to nobody. But you have to be careful with being all inclusive. And just on the terms, this is a personal opinion, so I don't want to offend anybody. I would advise people to stay away from philanthropy until you're wealthy enough to be philanthropic. It's harder to get a business. Philanthropy and art is the playground of the rich and the wealthy. It's important to try and get your business established first. When you talk about being inclusive, I want, again, this is only a personal opinion, I really want to believe in that, but I don't. I believe in tribalism. You said you found your tribe. And when you started to talk about Florida, facts and metrics for Florida, I started to get motivated. I started to feel, yeah, screw those Pacific guys. A bit of controversy and a bit of tribalism is good because that's what breeds attention. And if you're giving the problem that you're solving is that Florida or the East Coast doesn't have a surfing culture identity, and you create one, you want to tribalize it as much as you can, because it's only by creating that sort of friendly enmity that will compel people to invest in you emotionally and financially.
I can appreciate that. What I don't want to do though is start a fight.
But you're rooted in kindness.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is root it in kindness. And you can have a tribe, you can have a collective, you can have unity in people without conflict. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Not something that's going to be all anti-West Coast. No, I mean, if those guys come over here and they like the vibe, yeah, let's do it. And it's still, for a certain person. If you don't like the East Coast, that's cool too. This isn't for you. If you don't like surfing, this isn't for you. It's for a friendly type of surfer, a friendly type of person that likes the culture and the vibe here. And so that's what we're going after. Yeah, I'm not going to pick a fight with anybody. That's what I'm trying to avoid. But I want to make sure that it's something that's inclusive. Also, too, with regard to philanthropy, yeah, I don't have any money.
That's most of us.
One thing that I want to make sure that I do from the beginning, if I'm going to build this community, is to make sure that even if it's just something small, even if it's just a little bit, every little bit counts, and I want to make sure that I give that back. I'm not going to keep it for myself. I'm going to make sure that I have enough. But if I can, even if it's 2 cents, if it's $1, whatever, I want to make sure that I give that back. So I appreciate the sentiment, but from the beginning, I think this is something that I want to establish with regard to our identity. Thank you.
Right.
My name is Heather Files. I'm with Camp Boggy Creek. I have a few questions, and it's just to kind of get an idea as to who you've already spoken to. There's the Surf Film Festival that they do every year. I don't know if you've been to that, but that's a great, place to be, especially, because you want to immerse yourself into where they, kind of congregate. And then there's, have you met anybody at Daytona Board Store?
Yes.
Okay, so have you talked with Todd?
I haven't talked with Todd. I went there briefly because there was a contest called the Eddie, and I was trying to find out where it was because it changed spots. So I stopped and talked to Jack
Okay.
briefly. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chad and Todd are your guys.
Okay.
Definitely try to get a conversation with them because Todd knows Lisa Anderson. She's a world champ. He knows Mimi Monroe, who's a world champ decades before Lisa Anderson even, touched the surface. And Mimi Monroe has a surf camp. There's a bunch of guys out there. I mean, even the Daytona Board Store has a surf camp. But they're definitely, that's where Daytona's surf culture kind of congregates. That's where they exist. And Todd is awesome and has amazing ideas. So I would definitely check that out. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, as far as a business model goes, Heather just connected you, if you didn't already know, to the people in the town. She's a long-time resident. But I would suggest, what's in it, people always ask the question in business, what's in it for me? And obviously you have this emotional connection for the people, and there's a whole surf culture. But I would suggest maybe like a AAA model, where you connect with all these people and they join your East Coast Collective, and they not only get to socially, so there's a social aspect, but there's also like you're part of this AAA club and you get a discount at maybe that store, or you get to meet a champion, these type of things, and then they might even pay to join your East Coast Collective. That's just a suggestion.
That's a very interesting model. Thank you.
And who's your tailor? I'll get that after the.
You need a surf body.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's true. That's lacking, of course, yeah.
Good morning, Jen Rogers with Just Petite Clean. Great presentation. And I love what you said about your heart for giving back, because I'm a native to this community, like 3 generations. And my husband jokes all the time that we would be rich if I would just stop giving things away. Because that's not why I do it. I didn't start a business to get rich. I did it on accident, actually. And it's grown into something that I never expected. So keep that heart. I firmly believe in the book, The Go-Giver, which is all about giving value where even when you can't be the one doing it. So I love that. At the end of the day, what is your goal? Is this a completely online community? Is this an in-person community? Is it like, what all are you looking for out of East Coast Club?
Well, that's a really good question. You mean as far as like storefronts or?
Is it storefronts? Is it online?
Yeah.
Is it in person? Is it just a brand?
Yeah, I was thinking more of, in e-commerce online, and then if there are, shops, stores, other shops, or other online stores that would also like to carry things, then I think that's more the route that I'd like to take. Brick and mortar seems like a lot of overhead, a lot of trouble, and also too, it's just, one place, and maybe, it might, build to something like that, to where people would like to come to a place that's exclusively just East Coast Collective, but that I don't think is really where I'd want to go, like a brick and mortar. I like the idea of staying mobile and being able to move around and to travel, but at the same time be able to pay bills. So.
No, I get that. So that is an interesting point, because there are like mobile pop-up shops that just show up at events or at local surf shops too, and things like that. Like they just pop up for the day. They do a commission with the storefront or something like that. So maybe it becomes a thing where you have a big box truck that's decorated with your logo and everything like that, and you can tour around to the different surf towns and do pop-up events.
That's really interesting. Yeah, give that some thought. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tara Okovati, and I'm with Covered by Tara. And I actually am starting a collective as well called the Lighthouse Collective. I wanted to collaborate and see how we could. My mission is to create opportunities for health and healing. And I organized a beach cleanup, and I was going to email you. I tried to look online for a website ahead of time. I didn't see one.
Yeah. When I say it's brand new, it's brand new. That's one of the things I need is a website. So if anybody knows how to make them.
I think there's someone here who can help you with that. So, yep, I was going to email you and just introduce myself, but yeah, that was what I was going to ask is there an online presence at this point, and how can we follow you and support you until to the next level?
Yeah, oh boy, there's a lot of things that I have to I guess you could say build. The website is one, and also to social media presence. I'm very analog. I'm very content to be with my family, by myself, or with friends. I do a lot of things in person, and so basically, with regard to social media, I don't exist. So that's one of the things that I need to do, and actually that's on my list of things to do next to make sure that I get that going. But in the meantime, email me, and I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Shay.
Hi, I'm Shay Sparks, Sparks of Fire International. I'm out of Titusville, actually. So do you ever go down to Brevard County, Cocoa Beach area?
Yeah, I've been to Titusville. Cocoa too a couple of times, yeah, as well. Yeah.
Are you, so I have some questions and some comments. So are you open to connections in the Cocoa Beach surfing community? Okay, because I can make some connections there. And then, so I kind of want to bounce off what the gentleman said over there about the membership. So I am a community builder, as is one of the things I do. I help people build a collective community membership. And so when I see what you're doing, you have a great logo, you had a great presentation. Do you have actual clothes already?
Again, this just maybe a week ago, like the whole battle with the actual logo, because I'm gonna make sure I have that down solid, the voice, the look, everything. So it's just been settled upon, and so now we want to start making some samples and things like that. So this is all very recent again, but yes, we would like to do that very soon. We're going to do that very soon.
Got it. There's also things like online companies that make like things on demand. So you're not having to have things in stock, but you can upload your logo and sell it through them, a third party, rather than having you to ship it to them if you're going to do e-commerce. So definitely we can connect afterwards and talk more.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Nathalia.
Hi, I'm Catherine Neal, and I run MacGyver Labs, and I build websites, among other things. So, if you want to talk about that, that's great. But what I really wanted to say to you is, I actually grew up in Orlando, and I spent most of my teenage years surfing and being a lifeguard over here on the East Coast. And I've lived in California. I've spent time in Hawaii. I've spent time in a lot of places where surfers are. I'm not much of a surfer anymore, but I was going to say one of the other things, since this is a collective idea, is eventually, besides the core surf environment, you have the ability to appeal to paddleboarders and kayakers and anybody who spends time on the beach, even the people who don't do any of those things and they just sit in a beach chair and catch some rays. So I think it's a really great idea, and you're absolutely right. There is no representation for East Coast water sports. It's all California, Hawaii, Australia, someplace else. But I think it's a really great idea because the community here is much more interactive and helpful and non-competitive than anything I've seen when I lived in California or when I was in Hawaii or someplace else.
I agree. I'm really not that good. But when we're out there, it doesn't matter to anybody. We're just out there having fun. So yeah, I agree. That's what it's all about. Thank you. I'd love to talk with you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Natalia Smith with Dixie Accounting. So comment a little bit. I lived in California for 30 years. So yes, you know, the big surfing culture over there is big. But I think a lot of people now are kind of looking into the East Coast. A lot of California, they come out towards, you know, this area. Obviously, you guys know. But I do have a connection. I mean, some of the questions that I had before you can answer, like the website and the merchandise that you have. I do have a connection with somebody that makes surfboards in California, which is my client. So I don't know if that's something that you might want to get connected to. I'd be happy. He's an Australian guy, and me myself, I come from Bali, so it's a surfing area as well. So I don't surf, I don't know how.
Bali would be our place to learn.
And also, I saw your slides and different stages, phases that you going through. Where are you now on that boxes of the phases that you present earlier?
Okay, good question. And put this stupid fade effect on there so it puts it in.
I thought the fade thing was cool.
Thank you. All right, one more. All right, one more. Okay, all right. So, as I said before, this is literally at the infancy. I don't even know if you call it infancy, probably newborn stage. And you know, our mentors encouraged me to go ahead and talk about it, and I thought, I'm not ready to talk about it. But here I am. So, you know, right here, refining the brand identity. That's just what we've done. Also market research to see if there's an audience for this, identifying who my primary audience would be. So primary, secondary, tertiary. You know, your primary being like your young kind of Gen Z surfer into the environment. They value uniqueness and also to quality over necessarily the price. Your secondary would be those who might be surfers, as you mentioned, paddle boarders, people who just love the water in general, of all ages. And then your tertiary would be like your visitors, tourists, the kind of people that love the water and love to identify with it. Maybe they're not around it all the time, but they still like to, you know, to feel a part of it in some way. So doing that market research, seeing what the competition would be, seeing what my costs would be, all of that we're in the process of doing. Now I'm starting to develop a product line. And so I've been coming up with different, I guess you could say, designs for the different hats, rash guards, t-shirts, that type of thing. Trying to figure out how many to do on my first run, you know, so that it's not something that I can't handle or overwhelm your audience, but also having wanting to come back for more. So kind of in stage 2 right there, basically. And then these are, this talks about, again, those niche markets. In order to develop a product line, though, I would need to figure out my supply chain. And so I've been looking into a few places actually that make rash guards that are right here on the East Coast, and they're beautiful, beautiful quality. I think they're down in West Palm, I think.
Do you want to keep the supplier on the East Coast as well, or?
I mean, you know, that would be consistent. That's for sure. I don't know. I would need to really think about that because I mean I like the idea of that, you know, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question, but maybe we could talk about that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go off of what Shay was talking about in terms of inventory, really. If you're talking about e-commerce, I run a lot of e-commerce websites, and inventory is where you can shoot up a whole bunch of cash you don't have. That's always the thing you want to do a real good plan on. Terry?
Good morning. As a former surfer,
You're still, sir.
still at heart. Terry Kane, advisor with TCT Advantage. When talking about what Sean said, getting involved with the private nonprofits, have you checked with the Marine Science Center in Portland, in Ponce Inlet, for a possibility of doing something, sponsoring one of their events, or being at one of their events, and they bring in like the Boy Scout troops and Girl Scout troops and stuff like that?
I didn't know they had events.
And I'm also a docent at the Ponce Inlet Historical Museum. They do events and have different things they bring kids in for, so there's a possibility there. And like I said, as a former surfer, 49 years ago, I placed 7th in the Southeastern Surf Championships.
Awesome.
When I was a skinny
Oh,
blonde.
okay, Miss Terry. Former surfer.
One more hand over here. Yeah, let me grab it. Anybody else after that?
So I have a couple of comments based on what was said. I agree with your sentiment about wanting to give back even a little bit when you start. I think you'll find that that builds up a lot of goodwill in the community from the get-go. I think the comment about getting into philanthropy later, you can always give a lot more later when you're successful, much more successful, but I think it's a very good idea, the way you're thinking, to do it from the get-go. And I also wanted to recommend to you, there's University of Central Florida has a business incubator in Daytona, in the Daytona campus, also Orlando. And what they do is promising new businesses. They give you a lot of support. They give you office space, secretarial help, all kinds of help, even I think with websites and things like that, and it's free. You have to approach them, talk to them, give them some kind of business plan. And if they approve you, you'll have a space. It's at the Daytona Beach International Airport, and you'll get secretarial help, you'll get all kinds of help for free. So that's something to look at, the University of Central Florida Incubator. The last thing I wanted to say was that there was discussion about your merchandise, where are you going to get it, and so on, which are very good questions. I will tell you that when I was a lawyer, I represented the Beachside Merchants Association, and I still have a lot of good contacts with a lot of them. And some of them make their own clothes locally, some of them import them from all over the world, some of them in the U.S. It'd be good for you to reach out to some of these people who make clothes or source clothes to figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what would work best for you. If you'd like to speak with me, I can probably put you in touch with some people that are in that business.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kira Abdullah, or Kira the Hero, as you call me, CEO, founder of Apparel. Basically, when you come here, you get three things: feedback, questions, or resources. So a bunch of people share resources, and I would love to extend the courtesy of one of us and have my team reach out to you. Can build you a website at no cost, just at helping. Hopefully that doesn't make anybody mad at me, but e-commerce enabled the whole 9 yards. And following up on the rules of business incubator, one of my businesses is actually there. So great place. We're 601 Innovation Web in the airport. Great environment, great resources, help your business out, pull the board. Someone can help us with rates, someone's great, but it's a great resource. So I'm gonna send you an email, have the team reach out. Awesome. I'm gonna get an email from Brody, and reach out to you.
Thank you so much, thank you, that's fantastic.
All right, fantastic job today. Let's give Aaron a big hand. And we're here every Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Tell your friends, and we're streaming on YouTube. So if you want to go check this out afterwards, or anybody wants to see it, tell them to go to YouTube and they can see the streaming. We're going to bring up the lights here, wrap up today.